Welcome to Shah's IAS Institute. This is a website www.ashah.com. We upload current affairs here daily. You can download it in PDF format as well. So for February 2017, looking at current affairs, in this video we'll discuss the editorial in question bank. So the editorial for 8th Feb. The first editorial in the Hindu newspaper is Testing Times on NEET. National Eligibility cum Entrance Test. So this would be a uniform examination for deciding admissions to all undergraduate posts in all medical colleges, deemed universities throughout the country, in all states. So earlier there were different examinations conducted by the various states. Even at central level there was one all India medical entrance test conducted. So all this would now be ended. There would be one single examination. This was the proposal of the central government in 2013. So Medical Council of India would be the authorized body which would conduct these examinations. This was challenged in the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court struck down this order. So because of which NEET could not be implemented. In 2016, now Supreme Court has reversed that order, and the order was struck down by a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court in 2013. And now in 2016, the 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court recalled that verdict. Means it has cancelled that verdict, and now NEET is back in place. So NEET has to be implemented. Supreme Court has ordered that NEET should be the way admissions should take place for all medical and dental courses throughout the country. Now there are resistance as such which we are seeing. So this is regarding Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu is planning to pass a legislation so that it can be exempted from NEET. So why is it passing a legislation? So legislation is required because it needs amendment to the Medical Council of Act and Dentist Act. So Indian Medical Council Act and Dentist Act will have to be amended by the Tamil Nadu government. So state specific exemption will be provided, and since these are central acts, they have to be approved by the president too. So president's approval will also be required in these cases. So this is what Tamil Nadu government is planning to go ahead with. The reason why it is doing so is says that these undergraduate and postgraduate medical examination which will be conducted under NEET, the syllabus for this is different from the syllabus which students have for HSC examination. And HSC examination scores are the ones which Tamil Nadu government presently uses for its admissions in undergraduate and postgraduate medical courses in the state. So that's what it is making a point. It also says that this we have already banned. Tamil Nadu has already abolished. No entrance examinations for any professional course is conducted in Tamil Nadu. So this ban has been put on entrance examination since 2006. The reason for this, it says that there is a huge amount of torment because of this on the parents and the students, and the underprivileged children from the rural areas are actually out of the race because of these entrance examinations. They cannot compete in such examinations. So for these reasons, the students only who take coaching are there able to clear these entrance examinations. That's why Tamil Nadu government had put this ban on entrance. So now if a national legislation is coming in and national order is coming in from the Supreme Court order is coming in, that NEET has to be implemented. So this is an entrance exam going against the entire philosophy and concept of ban on entrance examinations which Tamil Nadu has put. So as a way out, it is using the legislative route. So this is what is the status presently. It also makes a point that with respect to NEET, the syllabus which is there, so this will benefit the CBSE students rather than our state level course syllabus as such. So this will also result in adverse effect on admissions for Tamil Nadu state students. So that is also a point highlighted by Tamil Nadu. So now after the Supreme Court adjudication on this, that Supreme Court has mandated it that it has to be through NEET only. So it is taking it onto itself, the way we see Supreme Court. Judicial activism, as you can say. So this is what judiciary is trying to ensure, that NEET has to be implemented. Actually, it wanted it to be implemented in 2016 itself. But then the central government said that it would be difficult to do it at such a short notice. So students need time to prepare and all. So that's why an ordinance was passed by the central government to ensure that in 2016, all seats do not go under NEET. Only around 15% seats were put under NEET. And then from 2017 onwards, it was said that NEET would be the only way admissions would take place all over for medical and dental courses, undergraduate and postgraduate. So this was the status so far. So now we'll have to wait and watch what would be the stand which Tamil Nadu government takes. How far would the center support it? Because without center support, Tamil Nadu cannot go ahead with a legislation too. It requires president's consent too. So that is the main question. So then another point which the editorial is also making is there is of course a need. Supreme Court has a higher objective, you know, ideal objective which it is trying to endorse, and that is there is a huge amount of commercialization of medical education. There is huge amount of capitation fee which is taken, so you have to buy seats as such from medical educational institutions. To put an end to this commercialization of medical education, a transparent admission system is of course required. So it will be a centralized transparent system based on your scores. You would be getting centralized admission. So this is of course desirable and a reform which has to be undertaken. But then there is another aspect too, that in the rural areas we don't have enough doctors who are ready to serve in rural areas. The rural population does not get an opportunity to compete at that high level, and we see that a major section of our population is in rural areas. So serving the rural, bringing up the rural background students is also important. So that is also a social goal which has to be acquired. And another thing is that Tamil Nadu government also says this, that there is a huge amount of disparity, that all over the country there is huge amount of economic disparity, linguistic disparity, regional disparities. So in such a scenario, if we have a centralized examination trusted on the entire country, it may not be relevant to. So this is also a concern. But then of course it is said to be that judiciary is intervening in a domain which belongs to the legislature and the executive. So this is the policy making, that how examinations should be conducted. So Supreme Court cannot mandate how examinations should be conducted. It is the center and the states, the legislature and the executive's domain. So this is of course true, but then we see that judiciary plays a pioneering role in bringing in reforms in various domains, be it from cricket to education. So that is why judicial activism is also appreciated in some cases, though it has to draw its line too. And only the reason why judicial activism is there in the country is because legislature and executive do not fulfill the goals, the ideal objectives which they should aspire for, rather than going for political considerations. And vote bank politics, which is generally played, that what would people favor, majority of the population favor, rather than what should ideally take place. So that is why courts do intervene in such cases, and of course it becomes judicial activism. So the last line in the editorial says that it may be easy to advise the courts to keep out of the policy domain, but a more difficult task is for institutions in the government and the private sector to maintain standards and pass the court's triple test of fairness, transparency, and freedom from exploitation. So there is corruption in educational institutions, in entrance to educational institutions. Private sector looks at commercialization of the entire sector, government supporting them, government taking in their own political considerations and acting accordingly. So that is the reason why Supreme Court intervenes. So if they pass this triple test, there is fairness, transparency, and freedom from exploitation, courts do not need to intervene. This is regarding the NEET ordinance which came up in 2016 by the center. So in this, 85% seats for that year for medical and dental seats had to be filled through own examinations of these states. Only 15% seats came under the NEET's ambit. And for post-graduation courses, the exams will be held in 2017-18 only under NEET. So this was there. Why NEET should be implemented? So earlier, students had to appear for multiple examinations. So at various states, you have any medical institution in any state, you have to appear for the examination in that state. So your own state examination to other states examinations too. If you wish to take admission in any of that institute, you have to appear for those examinations too. Private medical colleges had their own examinations conducted. So there were multiple number of entrance examinations which a student had to go through. So there are 72 exams across the country for admission to medical colleges, is what one study is revealing. So that is why it is important that one centralized single examination without much, with complete transparency, without any corruption, would be of course desirable. Then the next editorial in the Hindu newspaper is Rollback in Romania. So Romania, an East European country, a former Soviet member who was under communist regime till 1989. So this country has brought in a vague order. A government order has come in which says that if you are indulging in corruption which involves a sum below a certain amount, that certain amount is around $48,000. So if graft involves this much amount, then it is decriminalized, means there will be no criminal prosecution against the person. So this, they say, we are implementing for practical reasons, whatever they may be. But the protests, the public protests which resulted post this, have taken the country and the government by surprise, and they have been forced to cancel this order. So this is what has been discussed in this editorial. Even the country's president came in favor of the protest, supported the people in the protests. So Romania is now a European Union member. It became a member of EU in 2007. So when you become a member of EU, there are particular provisions which you have to fulfill. Particular, like rule of law has to be upheld in the country. So this is not how rule of law is upheld. So it is there. What is Romania fighting against is that the corruption laws are very strong. The anti-corruption body in Romania is also very strong, because there are number of prosecutions against important legislative leaders which have been initiated. Even the even the political party whose leader wanted to be the prime minister of the country could not become the prime minister because he had prosecution on corruption which was going on against him, so he was not eligible. So the laws of course are strong, but implementation of laws become weak, and when such orders come in, of course everything goes haywire. So that is their judicial proceedings running against many elected representatives and officials. So this shows that the body fighting corruption is independently functioning, and that is why such a decree was brought in, and public protests show that yes, country still has rule of law as its essence, and the government has been protested against. So this was there. Also, it is still saying that we will give pardon to errant officials. So another law will be brought in so that any official who is involved in such corrupt activities, they'll be pardoned. So they're still insisting that this would be used, because they say the reason we are bringing in, because criminalizing means then prosecution takes place, and if they are convicted, then they would be going behind bars, and they say the prisons are overcrowded. So this is the reason why they would be pardoned. Errant officials who are indulging in bribery would be pardoned. Anyway, so this is the case right now. So now Romania, it's been a decade, since 2007 it's been a decade that it's a member of EU, and the Romanian population has been benefited a lot because of this economic interaction. So freedom of movement and freedom of work across borderless EU has helped them develop economically and even culturally, and we are seeing that Romania is now protesting against such government orders. So it says that Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania, should not fritter away the fruits of integration. So it has integrated into EU, and now it should not fritter away, means spoil all those fruits. So this is Romania, the East European country in Europe. You can see here. Then this are the members of EU. There are 28 members of EU. Prominent countries which are not members, you should know, is this Norway and even Switzerland here. These other EU members shown in dark color and lighter color are EU members who are not in the Eurozone, having a common currency. So UK has its own pound, so sterling pound, so it is not a member of Eurozone. Anyway, it is going to exit EU also now. But that is the map shown. There are smaller countries too here, members of EU, like Malta and Cyprus. And the last two nations which entered into European Union were Romania and Bulgaria in 2007. So these are the 28 nations shown when they joined and whether they are members of Eurozone or not. So this is regarding the two editorials. Next we look at the question bank. So that is based on the lead articles and the articles in the op-ed page in the Hindu newspaper. We frame a question on it and then we'll discuss the content. So the lead article in today's newspaper is on Tamil Nadu politics. Sasikala, she wants to become the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. So we don't need to discuss that. It's not at all important for us. The other three articles have been framed, a question has been framed on them. The first one is, the Constitution of India mandates reservation for women in local bodies. Why has it turned difficult to be implemented in Nagaland over the years? So this is under Part 9A of the Constitution, Part 9 and Part 9A. Part 9 deals with panchayats and 9A with municipalities. So reservation has been mandated. 33% and then 50% reservation for women has been mandated through the Constitution. So this has to be implemented throughout the nation. So Nagaland has found it difficult to bring in this reservation. It initiated this act, Nagaland Municipal First Amendment Act in 2006, to provide 33% reservation for women in urban local bodies. So this has been protested against by the tribal bodies in Nagaland. And they are saying that this provision is going against Article 371A. So Article 370 is special provision for Jammu and Kashmir. Article 371 gives special provisions for other states also. Nagaland under Article 371A has special provisions in the constitution to preserve Naga culture, tradition and customary laws. So they are protesting, saying that this act of giving reservation for women is going against their culture, tradition and customary laws. So this is the point which they put forth. This shows the male domination in Naga society and culture. Though there are no atrocities against women, like there is no female feticide or dowry or any such thing, but still you see that male domination prevails and they are up in arms against this reservation. So the whole history behind this, after 2006 Act, which was not allowed to be implemented, so Nagaland did not conduct urban local body elections for over 10 years because of this protest. So in 2011, then Naga women filed a petition before the Guwahati High Court. So this High Court said that state government has to hold municipal elections. How can it not hold municipal elections? So it has to hold and it has to provide 33% reservation for women as constitution mandates all over the country. So in 2011, this order was given, but Naga government filed an appeal, and because of the appeal, this previous order was stayed. So there was no need to implement it then. Then it went ahead and passed a resolution in the State Legislative Assembly of Nagaland. So in this, it said that this reservation would be negated because it is violating Article 371A. So against this, a special leave petition was filed before the Supreme Court in 2012, and in 2016, Supreme Court gave a judgment in which it upheld the first order in 2011, which Guwahati High Court was given, that elections have to be conducted. So it was mandated now that elections be conducted. Nagaland again passed an act. This was Nagaland Municipal Third Amendment Bill of 2016. So it said that 2012 resolution, when it said that 371A is violated, is revoked, it's cancelled, and now women's reservation in urban local bodies would be provided. It called for elections on Feb 1, 2017. So it was scheduled that elections should take place. Elections did take place, but not without protest. The protests went out throughout the state. So this was by the tribal bodies. So from January 28 to February 1, these bodies announced Bandh. And because of this, Nagaland government could not conduct elections throughout, and they declared the elections as null and void. So this has been a serious setback. Tribal bodies are now asking that the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu should resign. So this is the status, Bandh, which the tribal bodies have enacted against a constitutional provision. They also have other problems with this Nagaland Third Amendment Bill, because even taxation related issues and land ownership related issues are also unresolved. So the tribal bodies want complete revocation of these two and resignation of the Chief Minister. So such are the demands being made against a constitutional provision. It's Part 9A. Every state has to bring in this. Article 243T calls for 33% reservation for women in urban local bodies. Even there is legislation at the central level to increase it to 50% now. So 33% is mandated. There are plans to increase it, and Nagaland is not even providing 33% reservation. So this is what is the status of women's rights in Nagaland presently. Then the next question which we have framed is, discuss India-Africa relations, highlighting the convergence between India's Africa policy and Agenda 2063. So this is a question, same question has been framed on 11th Jan 2017 also in the question bank. Presently today there was an article on UN Secretary General's views on Africa, so that had not much content. So it's better to take up an old article and an old question and discuss that. So that's what we have done. So about Africa, it says Africa is having some of the world's fastest growing economies. That is true. It's also the world's largest host to refugees. that is also there. Plus, it also provides a huge UN peacekeeping forces around the world. 3 out of 5 Africans are under 35 years of age. So demographic dividend is also quite high, but then that can become, potential can be developed only when there is investment in education, training, employment is provided to them. So then it would become fruitful. Even empowering women makes a case for itself that women empowerment would also bring Africa out of its, what is understood about it, that Africa is not a developed continent. So development would be multiplied, at least doubled, if women also are empowered. Then next is a little about India-Kenya relations, which was given. So this is not, you don't have to specifically discuss with one nation, but in that article on 11th Jan, it was regarding India-Kenya relations. So we can just discuss that too. So the Kenyan president was here in India during Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit. So that was the time when this article had come on the op-ed page. So in this Vibrant Gujarat Summit, the initiatives were taken. He had visited here as a reciprocal to even the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit in July 2016 to various Southern African countries like South Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Kenya. So bilateral trade has huge potential to grow. Even various sectors from Indian companies have their presence in Kenya, like Tata's, Reliance, SR, Kirloskar, Dr. Reddy's. So in pharmaceutical sector, agriculture, financial services sector, there are various Indian companies, corporates working there and flourishing in the nation. Also, Kenya is demanding more investment too, which it can fruitfully use. So beneficial for both the nations. So that is also there. The Kenyan president is also developing close relations with China as well. So this was one aspect. Then regarding India and Africa in general, we can see that India's Africa policy is in line with Agenda 2063, which has been brought forth by African Union. We'll discuss what is this Agenda 2063 too. So first of all, so India's Africa policy also speaks of development in Africa, investment in Africa, enhancing bilateral trade. Some areas which we are cooperating with the continent are on issues of UN reforms. So India wants to be a permanent member of UN Security Council basically. So it also is demanding that one seat for Africa should also be there as a permanent member in UN Security Council representing Africa. Then on counterterrorism, we have common viewpoints. Climate change, where we can cooperate. Also, International Solar Alliance, which has been proposed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the international level. So all solar-rich countries coming together. So many African countries are also proposed to be coming together under this. So these initiatives have also been taken under India's Africa policy and cooperating with Africa. We also have India-Africa Forum summits. The first India-Africa Forum summit was held in 2008 in New Delhi. Then next India-Africa Forum summit, second one was in Africa in Addis Ababa in 2011. And the third one was conducted in 2015 in New Delhi again as the third India-Africa Forum Summit. So this is after a gap of 3 years that it is conducted. But the next one has been postponed from 2018 to 2020 by the present government. So that's a little setback. But anyway, we have been cooperating with Africa on various fronts. Even coming together with countries and cooperation have also taken place. Our trade, India-Africa trade is expanding. There are key imports from Africa are crude petroleum, and export products are processed petroleum products, pharmaceuticals, and cars. So this is the exports from India to Africa. Then regarding Agenda 2063, which is having a similar framework as India's Africa policy too. So what it calls for is having a strong and influential status, development be people driven, bringing in good governance, democracy, human rights should be upheld, bringing prosperity, so increasing the standard of living, health, education, employment in Africa, bringing in political unity and integration within the African Union, then peaceful and secure Africa, civil wars, conflicts should end, and ensuring strong cultural identity, values, and ethics. So this is Agenda 2063, the vision of African Union, and then a framework would be also be brought in, priority areas decided, and constitutive acts brought in to ensure Agenda 2063 is achieved. So this is for the year 2063. Then this is regarding India-Japan cooperation. So we are jointly cooperating in various infrastructure development projects in Africa, especially in Kenya. So that is also highlighted. And then there is East African Community, which is a regional economic community comprising of these East African countries, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan. So this has been one of the most successful African regional economic community. They have a single market, a single custom union, and they are also planning to have a single monetary union as well, forming a monetary union. The bulk of foreign investment in this East African community comes from China. So of course, China is a competition for India in investments and cooperation in Africa. So then India also needs to enhance its cooperation here. Trade and industrial cooperation strategy has to be established with East African countries. These East African community, the two nations here, Kenya and Tanzania, are traditional rivals. So overcoming this two, bringing in cooperation with all nations, India has to work towards bringing it closer to Africa and having relations which are beneficial for both sides. So this is regarding East African community too. Then the next question is, India needs a chief of defense staff to provide single point military advice to the government. Discuss. So presently the situation is that we do not have a chief of defense staff. We have a body called Chief of Staff Committee. So this Chief of Staff Committee is the authority which advises the defense minister, and this comprises of Chief of the Army Staff, Chief of the Navy Staff, means Army Chief, Navy, Air Force, and an integrated defense staff which we have the chief of that. Also the scientific advisor to Ministry of Defense is invited whenever needed in this Chief of Staff Committee. And the chairman of this body is the senior most member amongst these chiefs, three chiefs. So that is how the chairman is only nominal. So all of them have equal powers and they individually many a times advise the defense minister regarding the armed forces status. So then complete coordination, cooperation amongst all the staff, all the armed forces is not there. So there should be an integrated body. So that is what is being advised, and this was a recommendation even of the Kargil committee which was set up in the year 2001. So 2000 GOM, group of ministers, which was set up post the Kargil war. So it was to review India's defense management. So it had also recommended such a body. So it's called for a chief of defense staff or the permanent commissioner, chief of staff committee. So whatever it means, this chief of staff committee which is there should have a permanent commissioner. Presently it's a nominal head chairman decided. So permanent commissioner of this or a separate chief of defense staff as such, whatever name you may call it with, has to be there as the principal military advisor to the government. Principal defense advisor can be the defense secretary who is from the civil services, but here principal military advisor is required and they both should enjoy equal status in working relationship. So this recommendation was provided for and the government is now planning to implement it. So benefits of it are of course there. So this will bring in reforms. Benefits will be a holistic military assessment and estimate. So what is the holistic military framework? What options can be, military options can be taken? What are their pros and cons? The optimized payoffs, a single point advice which can be given to the defense minister. Presently when each armed force like Army, Navy and Air Force, each one of them give their individual advices, a comprehensive coherent advice does not come forth. So that is the reason why chief of defense staff is required. It will bring in efficiency, effectiveness in the planning and execution of military operations as such. So of course there are benefits for dealing with hybrid threats, also periodic transgressions, so that even for localized operations more effectively it can be dealt with the chief of defense staff. So that is the point of justification for this. And there is also an integrated defense staff which is spoken of as one of the members here. Fourth member was chief of integrated defense staff. So what is this too? This was also created as a recommendation of the group of ministers post Kargil war, the committee, the body which was set up. So in 2001 integrated defense staff was created. So this was to bring in synergy between the armed forces. So there is a chief of integrated staff to defense staff. So this is also Lieutenant General Satish Dua presently since October 2016. So this is the point where organization for integration of policy, doctrine, war fighting, procurement takes place. So employing best management practices for this takes place through this integrated defense staff. So this body will also have to be integrated with permanent commission, chief of staff committee or combined defense staff, whatever is the new body established. So both on integration would have to work. So this is completely essential so that the military can be integrated and proper advice goes to the government in power, civilian government in power. So that is the news. So presently, to integrated defense staff, the way it works, bringing in synergy between the armed forces, it lacks the required authority. So current lack of authority in integrated defense staff is evident. So this, when a chief of defense staff, a permanent commission of chief of staff committee is established and integrated, with this integrated defense staff functioning, then efficiency would come forth. So that is regarding this article. So that is it for today in the editorial and question bank section. News will be uploaded later. Thank you.